Well, Babylon's Fall has fallen, ladies and gentlemen, as in it's dead. The servers are going to get shut down unceremoniously, and it's hardly surprising given the launch state of the game and given the diminishing player base throughout the course of its post-launch period. And going to Metacritic, you can see that neither critics nor users were too fond of Babylon's Fall. It's just not a good game, really dull in its design, and the visuals are just really off-putting. And then the way it monetized itself as a live service was deemed by many to be very cynical in nature. The critical reception surrounding this game has been so negative that if you look at the list of PlayStation 5 games listed on Metacritic right now, Babylon's Fall is listed as the second worst reviewed game in PlayStation 5 history. And among 2022 releases, Babylon's Fall is sitting in third place, third worst reviewed game in all of this year. It's not any better on Steam either. If you go and check out the review score currently, it's sitting at an overall mixed review score of 42%, and recently that score has dropped to a mostly negative, a mere 23% review score. Things are equally sad when you look at the concurrent player numbers. At one point, Babylon's Fall fell to less than 10 concurrent PC players in the week of April 17th, and the following month, on May 7th, 2022, Video Games Chronicle noted that Babylon's Fall's player base fell to just one concurrent player on PC. And if you look at the chart on Steam charts, you can see the quickly diminishing trend of its player base, and you can find the specific numbers right here. The all-time peak for this game was a mere 1,166 players, which is, quite minuscule for a major AAA live service, and over time these numbers diminished to a point where it was very clear that this game was just not sustainable in the long term, dipping into the single digits by July of 2022, just 4 months after launch. Making optics worse for this whole situation is the fact that Babylon's Fall developers promised back in March of 2022 that they would support this game for the long term, despite the fact that the player base was looking pretty abysmal in terms of concurrent numbers, stating, quote, "Is the continuing service in danger? No, there are no plans to reduce the scale of development on Babylon's Fall. That aged like milk on a hot summer day. Content up to the end of Season 2 is now practically complete, and we have started work on Season 3 and beyond. We'll continue to provide new content for the game and make improvements based on player feedback, striving to keep existing players playing and to attract newcomers. We would like to thank all Sentinels already enjoying the world of Babylon's Fall as we look forward to welcoming more of you in the future. The Babylon's Fall development team." Along the way, they did try to get player feedback on how to improve Babylon's Fall via this survey that they launched at the time, but signs that their long-term commitment towards this game was looking shaky became apparent via this blog post published on May 20th, 2022, titled "Extension of Season 2, where they noted how they feel that they need a period to reevaluate the game's future operating roadmap, and accordingly have decided to extend Season 2 by 3 months. By May of 2022 on Steam, the number of concurrent players had dropped into the low double digits, and I cannot imagine the game fared much better on PlayStation 5. And so at this point, it was abundantly clear that even the developers saw the writing on the wall with the long-term future of this title. They were ramping up towards winding this game down. Lo and behold, fast forward to yesterday, September 13th, 2022, just 5 months after the game's launch, and the developers are officially confirming that they're terminating the game service on February 28th, 2023, which is less than a year after the game's March 2022 launch. Clicking on the link will take you to the blog post that details everything, and it reads as follows. Notice regarding the termination of Babylon's Fall service. Thank you very much for playing Babylon's Fall. With the desire of delivering an exhilarating online multiplayer action RPG set in an elaborate high fantasy world, exhilarating would not be the first word that come to mind in regards to Babylon's Fall. We launched the game's official service on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, and have continued to undertake additional development and operations. However, it is with deep regret to inform you that we will be terminating the game service on February 27th, 2023. This should come as no surprise or shock to everyone. I scoffed when I first read this statement right here, insisting that the live service is not in danger and that there are no plans to reduce the scale of development on Babylon's Fall. I knew for a fact that this this was just a pipe dream, an impossibility based on the critical reception surrounding the game and based on the general lack of interest from players, as was obvious and apparent. It doesn't take a genius to deduce that a live service game that launches with an all-time peak of merely roughly 1,200 players, one that was in such shambles at launch, would require nothing short of a miracle for it to recover. And now PlatinumGames and Square Enix look pretty silly for promising what was basically the impossible based on all the information we knew at that time. The statement here continues: as a result, we'll also cancel the large-scale updates that we had planned. Instead, they're going to focus on drawing out Season 2 and launching the final season when the time is right. In terms of the plan moving forward, Season 2 will run until Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 as scheduled, and the final season will begin with the maintenance scheduled on the same day. This final season is the period during which you can earn the ranking rewards of Season 2. As a way of expressing our gratitude to all our players, we plan to implement as many events and other initiatives as we can leading up to the end of the service. I don't think anyone's really interested. I mean, literally, as I'm recording this video, the number of concurrent players is sitting at 1 in the past hour, and it peaked at 6 in the past 24 hours. I guess there might be a few more players on PlayStation 5, but at this point, I don't see the point of prolonging this unceremonious video game. Implementing as many events and other initiatives as they can just seems like a moot action at this point. What's the point in investing in this game and its seasons and its events when all of that will be for naught, given that all gameplay data on the game servers will be deleted following the termination of the service, and the game will straight up just cease to exist come February 2023. Steam's listing has already put out a notice stating that Babylon's Fall is no longer available on the Steam store for purchase right now. The only players who will have access to the game are those who have already purchased it. And finally, Babylon's Fall will be ending service on February 28th, 2023. After that point, the game, along with any in-game currency and in-game purchase items, will no longer be accessible. If you spend any money on microtransactions for this game or just spent any money for this game in general, it's going to get flushed down the toilet. So yeah, this is kind of where we're at with this whole situation. This is such a major stain in PlatinumGames' reputation, because usually their games are stellar. I love their action-centric games, their single-player games, everything from Bayonetta to Metal Gear Rising to, Nier Automata. They've made some great games, but with Babylon's Fall, they tried to lean into the live service side of the games industry. And not only did they fail to create a compelling video game, but the live service component itself, many have seen as cynical and just unjustified given the premium price at which this game's being sold at, and given just the lackluster quality that would make this game fail even if it wasn't a live service. Babylon's Fall feels like one of those games that was made as a corporate obligation. It's the kind of game that doesn't feel like it was made from the viewpoint of, oh, we need to make this a live service because we have this really interesting idea that we want to bring to life. It feels more like they started from, we need to make a live service to recurrently monetize, and then tried to make a game around that, and they kind of half-assed it. This game certainly doesn't feel like the byproduct of a huge spark of inspiration. It just feels like the byproduct of companies that wanted to find ways to make money. And Square Enix needs to stop with these live services. They've failed so many times already with frickin' Marvel's Avengers. We all know how that panned out. And hopefully PlatinumGames will stick to what they're best at, which is story and campaign-driven, high-octane action games with, ridiculous, amazing, beautiful set pieces and the kind of stuff that just gets your adrenaline pumping. That's what they specialize in. And if they want to branch off, that's cool too, but no more live services, no more cynically created video games that are clearly meant to be more monetization machines rather than something that is genuinely intended to give people an entertaining experience and make that the priority before even considering monetization. Babylon's Fall is yet another live service that proves that this isn't the way of the future for the games industry. There can be a mix of both single-player, multiplayer live service games, but this whole notion that you have to make live services to succeed in the games industry is a ridiculous notion. I hope that PlatinumGames can land on their feet despite this major flop that likely cost them financially. And this is a studio that, isn't the most financially well off. It feels like they're just barely getting by. And it'd be tragic if the studio were to experience some kind of downfall, because if you give them the right project to make, they can excel and they can be among the top developers in the games industry. But when you've got a publisher making them make cynical cash grab like Babylon's Fall, then this is the result that we get. Hopefully with upcoming releases like Bayonetta 3 and whatever projects they may have lined up, they can make a comeback and this can be forgotten history instead of a stain that will be representative of what the future may potentially hold for PlatinumGames. At the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Babylon's Fall's fall. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.